Thank you very much, Madam Minister, for your kind introduction and also for accepting us here in your ministry. So, Madam Minister, for information, Honorable Deputy Ministers here present, Chief Directors of Ministry of Information, as well as Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations and Pensions, Directors and Heads of Departments, recognizing all the Chief Executives of the various MDAs under us, social partners, distinguished invited guests, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here this morning to share with Ghanaians development in the employment, labor relations, and pensions space. Over the course of the year, the sector has made tremendous progress towards delivering improved services to the general public. I'm proud to share with you some of the achievements. Madam Minister, the labor front has been relatively peaceful and stable. This is attributed to the collective tireless efforts of social partners. Peace cannot be taken for granted, especially in the light of developments in the sub-region. Ghana is regarded as a beacon of peace thanks to the collective efforts of all concerned. Over the last 7.5 years, the ministry, with the support of key stakeholders, has resolved all industrial disputes that threaten peace and security in the country. The ministry has enjoyed fruitful collaboration from social partners through the National Tripartite Committee, Social Partnership Council, and the National Labour Conference. Especially, the National Labour Conference served as the highest level of engagement amongst the tripartite constituents on issues of national interest. As a result of discussions held at the National Labour Conference, government commissioned a review of the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, and the single-span pay policy to meet the growing needs of workers. Through these efforts, public sector workers on the single-span pay salary structure in 2023 received the highest adjustment of the base pay since the introduction of the single-span pay policy in 2010. Within the same period, pensioners on the SNIT pension payroll also had their monthly pension indexed upward by 25%. The 25% increment represents the highest pension indexation since the introduction of the contributory three-tier pension scheme in 2008. These adjustments reflect government's commitment to maintaining high levels of income for both workers and pensioners alike. Last year, the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission conducted a nationwide payroll monitoring. The exercise covered 120 public sector institutions consisting of 97 MMDAs, 6 universities, and 17 others. Analysis of the 2023 payroll data from the Comptroller and Accountant General's Department showed a reduction in the wage bill by over 345 million. The payroll monitoring is still ongoing. Madam Minister, I wish to thank various labor unions for the successful organization of their respective congresses and the election of new leaders to steer the affairs of the unions. I also commend outgoing union leaders for their cooperation with government and wish them the best in their future endeavors. At the global level, Ghana's own Dr. Anthony Yauba, immediate past Secretary General of the Trade Unions Congress, was elected to the governing body of the International Labour Organization for the period 2024 to 2027. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate him on his new appointment and also wish him well for his tenure as a member of the governing board of the ILO. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the world of work is changing rapidly, and we must be adequately prepared for it. As a result, the ministry has reviewed a number of sector enactments to make them comprehensive and suitable for contemporary use. These include the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, Factories, Offices and Shops Act 1970, Act 328, and the Cooperative Societies Act 1968, NLC Decree 252. In 2003, the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, was promulgated to regulate the world of work and to promote decent work standards. Major provisions include the establishment of public employment centers, regulation of activities of private employment agencies, employment of persons with disabilities, and establishment of the National Labour Commission. After 2 decades of implementation of Act 651, there have been concerns expressed by social partners occasioned by the following factors, among others: exercise of discretion in the interpretation of some aspects of the law, difficulty in implementing some aspects of the law, apparent disconnect with some relevant international labor standards and provisions to respond to emerging issues in the world of work. Fellow Ghanaians, there's no doubt that the current Labour Act has served the nation well. A trip down memory lane will reveal that prior to its promulgation in 2003, the right to freedom of association was problematic. This was contrary to Article 21(1)(e) of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. Thankfully, as a result of the coming into force of the Labour Acts, there is trade union pluralism. It has also liberalized industrial and labor relations. Furthermore, it provided a responsive legal regime that allowed for more proactive treatment and resolution of labor issues. This has kept tripartite constituents together over the years. In the same vein, the world of work has undergone dramatic changes to the extent that if care is not taken, the current labor law may soon not be fit for purpose. As a result, a new Labour Bill 2024 has been developed to consolidate the gains made by Act 651. If approved by Cabinet and subsequently enacted by Parliament, the bill will provide the following: prohibited actions of private employment agencies, extension of maternity leave by an additional 2 weeks, and introduction of paternity leave, protection against violence and harassment in the world of work. Madam Chairperson, if I may have to veer into other areas. Government continues to reform and position the Youth Employment Agency as a facilitator of jobs for the teeming number of young persons in our country. For the year under review, 116,089 beneficiaries were engaged under various modules of the YEA program. If you want the specifics, community protection assistance, some 15,000 persons are engaged there. Community health workers, 6,000. Waste and management, waste and sanitation, 45,000. Skilled training, 10,000. Job center, 10,896. Youth in Agriculture 5,000, School Support Program 8,000, Youth in ICT 5,500. From 2017 to date, a total of 732,898 young persons have benefited from various models of the YEA program. The establishment of the Ghana European Center of Jobs, Migration and Development has also enhanced opportunities for the provision of decent employment for job seekers, particularly young persons who have the intention of migrating outside Ghana for jobs or have returned from abroad for a variety of reasons. Between 2017 and 2023, job placements undertaken by the Ghana European Center, PECs and PEAs totaled 61,419. This comprised of 44,138 males and 17,281 females. In 2021, the ministry developed the National Green Jobs Strategy to provide a framework for the promotion of green jobs in Ghana. From 2021 to July 2024, the ministry has undertaken 6 regional sensitizations and 1 media training program to promote the creation of green jobs. As a result, over 650 individuals from MMDAs and the informal sector have benefited from the sensitization programs. 50 media houses have also benefited from the Green Jobs Regional Sensitization Programs. Data available to us indicates that between 2021 and 2023, a total of 20,915 green jobs were created. This was in sectors including renewable energy, services, education, agriculture, waste management, and recycling. In the coming months, the ministry, with the support of the ILO and SNV Ghana, will organize regional sensitization programs in the Bono East, Ahafo, Upper East, Upper West, North, and Northeast, and Savannah regions to provide the creation of green jobs and contribute to the protection of the environment. Government remains committed to rolling out new programs to create employment and complement the delivery of public services. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, as part of government's vision towards the transformation of the pensions industry, the National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA for short, is rolling out a new software to fully automate its internal-external operations. This is critical to safeguard pension fund assets, which are growing rapidly and require prudent management of its investment. In 2017, government resolved the long-standing issue regarding the temporary pension fund account with public sector workers. Through collaborative efforts, an amount of 3.1 billion cedis was transferred by government into the custodian accounts of public sector occupational pension schemes. Over the last 7 years, the number of zonal offices for the NPRA has increased from 2 in 2016 to 7 as of August 2024. The addition of 5 new zonal offices has enhanced visibility of the pension regulator and brought pension services closer to the people. In the first half of the year, SNIT launched the SNIT Digital app, comprising of the SNIT mobile app, enhanced USSD, new website, and self-service portal. These platforms have significantly improved operational efficiency and brought added convenience to members and clients. SNIT also deployed the Integrated Social Security Administration System, a comprehensive operations system developed in-house. The new system will accrue savings for SNIT in excess of $2 million annually. Enrollment onto the 3-tier pension scheme has become seamless through the Ghana card. Subsequently, active contributors to the SNIT scheme have increased from 1.35 million in 2016 to more than 2 million as of April 2024. Coverage of pensions in the informal sector has also increased from 35,000 in 2016 to 817,000 members currently. Similarly, average processing time for pension is now 7 days, as against an average of 4 months in the past. So when somebody retires, within 7 days, now the person can access his or her pension entitlements, as against the past where one used to wait for well over 2 or 3 months. Madam Chair, in May 2023, SNIT launched the Self-Employment Enrollment Drive, SEED for short, an initiative which seeks to improve coverage and increase the contributor base of the SNIT scheme. Since the launch of the SEED initiative, over 103,000 persons, self-employed persons, have been enrolled onto the program. In the first half of the year, SNIT was able to collect 90.8% of its projected private sector contributions, which amounted to 2.4 billion, as against the expected figure of 2.6 billion. In the same period, within the public space, SNIT was able to collect a total of 3.2 billion, as against the projected figure of 2.2 billion, representing 144% of projected collection within the period. Contributions in respect of SNIT seed also amounted to 52.6 million within the same period. Total assets under management have grown from 15.2 billion in December 2016 to 71.69 billion in March 2024, representing over 350% increase within the 7-year period. The sustained growth of pension fund assets serves as vital capital for investment, infrastructural development, and job creation. All pensioners on the SNIT pension payroll as of 31st December 2023 had their monthly pensions increased by 15%, effective January 2024. The 15% indexation rate has resulted in an additional expenditure of 697.64 million to SNIT. The total benefits expenditure under the SNIT scheme is expected to increase from 5.4 billion in 2023 to 7.03 billion in 2024. This expenditure covers an estimated 244,000 pensioners on the SNIT pension payroll. SNIT also saved over 550 million from the deactivation of about 19,000 ghost pensioners on the SNIT pension payroll. Permit me, Madam Chair, to reiterate at this point that government will continue to exercise its fiduciary responsibility in the management and protection of pension funds. Madam Chair, over the years, the Labor Department has been faced with a number of challenges which militate against its efficiency and effectiveness. The ability of the department to carry out its mandate has been gravely affected by infrastructural, human resource, and logistical constraints, including rundown offices at the national, regional, and district levels. To address this matter, government with funding from the World Bank is implementing the Ghana Jobs and Skills Project to support skills development and job creation. The Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations is implementing Component 3 of the project, which is focused on improving the capacity of the Labor Department for enhanced coordination of the labor market. Activities being undertaken include development and operationalization of one-stop centralized labor market database dubbed the Ghana Labor Market Information System, GLMIS for short. The system, which can be accessed on the World Wide Web, www.glmis.gov.gh, is designed to provide the main interface that facilitates interaction between job seekers and employers. It is a web-based repository of all labor market information designed to enable stakeholders make real-time evidence-based decisions on the labor market. Through its data collection functionalities, the system is envisaged to become a reliable platform for the analysis and reporting of information regarding skills in demand to influence human capital planning, curriculum development, education, and training. This is expected to eventually end or minimize the long cycle of job mismatch, unemployment, and underemployment. Furthermore, as the system generates timely reports regarding the true state of the labor market, government will be in a better position to make policy interventions for maximum impact on the labor market. The GLMIS has an inbuilt portals that allow employers to declare existing vacancies for job seekers to upload their curriculum vitae for job matching. As a result, government will be able to gather timely and reliable data on the number of jobs created by the productive sectors. To strengthen labor administration and regulations of the world of work, government is constructing an ultra-modern 4-story building which is over 95% complete. Furthermore, government is constructing 16 new public employment centers under the project to complement the refurbishment of 48 existing ones across the country. As I speak, 13 out of the 16 new PECs under construction have been completed. These PECs are located in Yendi, Damango, Wa, Bolgatanga, Akimoda, Odomasi in the Sunyani West District, Chifuhimai, Konongo, Waliwali, Dambai, Hohoi, Bibiani, and Kenyas. Work is also progressing steadily in Takwa, Atebubu, and Amasaman. Madam Chair, let me take this opportunity to officially inform the public that the national launch of this project will be done at Atebubu on the 16th of September. So you are all invited. Additionally, government has procured over 80 motorbikes, 4 SUVs, and 21 pickup vehicles to enhance labor administration. Through this investment, government will also strengthen the early warning systems to detect and avert industrial disputes and maintain a stable labor environment. Madam Chair, in recent times, there has been incessant employment scams claiming the ministry is recruiting job seekers for various vacancies in both the public and private space, for which they demand payment of some amount of money from applicants. This situation is becoming so alarming, and I want to use this opportunity to say that under no circumstance will any government agency recruit people and demand that they pay money before they recruit them. So, if anybody put up an advert and indicated that you have to pay so much for that vacancy, just tell the person that that person is a scam, because it may not be coming from government. It's not coming from the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. In conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to reiterate that the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations is poised to continue contributing to the vision of His Excellency the President. The Ministry will continue with the work of improving the welfare of workers and employers whilst maintaining a peaceful labor front. I wish to express my deepest gratitude to all stakeholders for their continuous cooperation and collaboration with government in addressing the concerns of labor. Special mentions go to the Parliament of our country, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of National Security, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ghana Employers Association, Organized Labor, our development partners, and also the Ministry of Information. Through our combined efforts, almost all the labor-related issues that threaten industrial peace have been amicably resolved. Government is committed to ensuring that this industrial peace and harmony continues throughout the year as we work together to grow the economy towards sustainable development. Maybe before I sign off, on a personal note, I want to extend a special hand of gratitude to His Excellency the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and his hardworking Vice President, who happens also to be the flag bearer of MPP, for their support, especially to me and to the ministry, for their oversight and their advice in transforming the sector. On that note, I bring my presentation to an end. Thank you.
The Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations has a vision to provide.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. In fact, I had the privilege to sit in one of your negotiations. I think there was a labor issue, and we were invited to the conference room at the Ministry of Health. And that day, my perception about the work completely changed. And my respect for you, Honorable Minister, is out of the roof. Because the wisdom, the patience, what it really takes to lead such a sector and keep it peaceful is something that you need to write about so that we all learn from the books. I'm also particularly impressed about the successes chalked at the Youth Employment Agency. In fact, a year ago, I met a young woman, almost a year ago, in Kumasi, someone I hadn't seen in over a decade from Moshizongo. And I asked her what she was about. She said the YEA had a garment model, and she applied on a portal, and they gave her training, gave her a booth to do exhibition at Prempa Assembly Hall, and also gave her 18,500 Ghana cedis as startup. And because of that, her life has completely changed. She is able to buy beads, buy fabrics, design her own things and sell online. And when you mentioned the 732,898 beneficiaries of the YEA, she came to mind, and I knew the impact that has been created within that space. So thank you so much for building young people, building startups, building SMEs, giving hope to a lot of young people who would have really been distressed if not for this intervention. Thank you, Honorable Minister. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, there is a very short documentary which will give a summary of what the ministry has achieved so far, about 10 minutes, after which we'll move to the Q&A session and take your questions. So please. Okay. If the technical team is not ready, let's move to the Q&A session. Okay. If it is ready, Chief. Okay. Please, you can go ahead.
The Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations has a vision to provide decent jobs for all workers in Ghana and Ghanaians working abroad. This vision is being actualized through the Labour Department. To ensure that the government generates accurate, timely and holistic data on the labour market to inform policy decisions, the Ministry, in collaboration with the Labour Department with funding from the World Bank, has constructed 16 public employment centres as part of the Ghana Jobs and Skills Project. This project is considered one of the main forms of support for the government's top priority agenda of upgrading skills among the country's population, creating more and better quality jobs, and improving job outcomes for the youth.
One of the things we set out to do as a ministry is to ensure that we deepen issues of employment, and by doing that, we wanted to create a platform where every Ghanaian living everywhere in the country will have an access to information so far as available jobs are concerned. How were we going to do that? We looked for various opportunities to develop both apps and also physical locations where people can go and lodge their information. This was not forthcoming until perhaps we made approaches to international organizations, including the World Bank, who accepted our proposal to come into our aid. This resulted in the Jobs and Skills projects.
This documentary explores the massive transformational agenda at the labour offices and the public employment centres across the country. The Chief Labour Officer of the Labour Department shares how this project facilitates their mandate.
The main function of the department, or the mandate of the department, had been employment intermediation, registering job seekers and linking them to employment opportunities, facilitating employment intermediation. And this is principally done through our public employment centers. Over time, the department added other labor market functions like industrial relations.
The Ghana Jobs and Skills Project requires the ministry to see to the operationalization of the Ghana Labour Market Information System, revamp public employment centers, and review government's youth employment and skills development programs. In line with the international conventions which Government of Ghana has committed to, the newly built public employment centers are eco and disability friendly. The project coordinator provides insight into the level of support provided to facilitate smooth operations of the public employment centers.
We realized that the main challenge for the ministry in performing its function was the fact that the capacity at the Labour Department was at its lowest level, and we needed to do something to bring it up so that the ministry, through the Labour Department, will be able to perform its functions and provide quality services to job seekers.
Key functions and mandate of the Labour Department and public employment centres include: create an attractive and conducive environment of the Labour Department and its public employment centres for hosting the Ghana Labour Market Information System; training on career guidance, job counselling, job matching services, career guidance, organized job fairs, etc. The Ghana Labour Market Information System is designed as an automated, decentralized, and integrated web-based portal. It serves as a comprehensive platform for the collection, processing, evaluation, and dissemination of labor market information.
What the Jobs and Skills Project seeks to do is to afford every Ghanaian an opportunity.
Okay, thank you so much. On that note, we will move to the last part of today's briefing, which is the Q&A session. But before then, Honorable Minister, I was really excited when you tagged on the SNIT seed program, because I believe some members of the public do not know that there are existing schemes for the informal sector. And I think if we can do more sensitization on that, it will really help, especially in a season of elections and introduction of manifestos. It may seem to appear that it's a new idea that is being floated around. But I know that there are pension trust companies who have also, who the NPRA perform some supervisory rollover so that they put some schemes together for the members of the informal sector. And in no particular order, I know there is a Cocoa Farmers Pension Scheme, there is a Cocoa Abrabopa Pension Scheme, there is a Union of Informal Workers Pension Scheme for traders, beauticians, barbers, and so on. There is a GPRTU pension scheme. There is a pension scheme for garages, actually. Then we have the SNIT seed program, where people in the informal sector and persons who are self-employed can also take advantage of, so that they will have some form of insurance cover for old age. So thank you so much, Honorable Minister, for touching on that. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question, this is the best time to ask. I can see a hand at the back. If you raise your hand, the microphone will be brought to you. Let's start from the gentleman at the back. I think he was the first. Then we'll come to John and Mr. Atamensa. I would love to see the ladies as well, so please. Okay, Nana.
Good morning. My name is Josh Crane. I work with TV3. Okay. In April this year, the International Labour Organization made some staggering revelation. The fact that in the next 12 years, the reserves of SNIT would deplete. I'm sure the trust is aware of this, and so if this is the reality on the grounds, what are the short-term and long-term measures of the trust to mitigate this, and also how is the trust managing contributors' apprehension? Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. So we'll go to John and Mr. Atamansa.
Okay, thank you. Atamansa from GNA. As Minister rightly said, last year, Atamansa from GNA, you conducted payroll monitoring, and out of that exercise, government expenditure reduced by 345 million. I want you to give further insight into some of the positives that you saw during the exercise, and how the exercise brought about a reduction in government expenditure, if you can give us insight into it. Then regarding the new labor bill, that I want to find out the current stage of the bill, because I had one provision which I was really interested, paternity leave, which I, being a male, I want to enjoy paternity leave as well. The female has been cheating us for a long time. We want to enjoy it too. So I want the current stage of the bill. And then with the SNIT issue, recently the SNIT came into the media space regarding the investment of its assets, because I heard its asset has increased from 15 billion to 71 billion. So I want to find out the issue regarding Labadi, divestiture of Labadi Beach Hotel, and then some of the assets to bring in private sector. I want to find out the current stage. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions.
Yes,
John, please.
Thank you.
If we can do one or two.
Yeah, just
questions.
one.
Okay.
Most of my questions were partly asked, but to just ask it right. My name is John Awuni, Kesben Television. How is the ministry addressing the issue of casualization and then contract work in various sectors in the country? And then secondly, on the SNIT issue, what is the ministry doing to make sure
John,
that some of...
Please, can you take the
Oh, I
first
should take
question?
the first question. Okay. What I was saying is, how is the ministry addressing issues of casualization?
Okay.
Casualization and then contract work in various sectors. And the second one was on the SNIT, but this time around, SNIT assets. How is the ministry supervising the investment in SNIT assets that can generate something so that in future we'll not be selling things that will bring a lot of issues? Thank you.
Thank you. If there are any hands, we can take two more. Yeah, Nana.
Yeah. Good morning, Honorable Minister, my good friend. My name is Nana Poku from Daily Searchlight. I have two questions, but the last one is two in one. My first question has to do with, can you put your finger on a number of jobs this government has created since it came to power from 2017 up to date? Because there are conflicting figures coming from different ministries. So can you tell us exactly the number of jobs or employment the government has made since it came to power from 2017 up to date? My second question has to do with the critical mass of SH and tertiary graduates who are coming out these days. Because since the inception of the free SHS, a lot more people are graduating and coming out and massing up. And employment opportunities are very minimal, very meager. What are we going to do as a nation to tackle this problem? Because it's going to be a problem on our hands, whether we like it or not. What steps are you taking and the government taking, as it were, to solve this critical problem facing the country? And linked with that is the question on when anybody goes to training college or whatever they call it, college of education, and nursing training or medical school, the person expects that the government employs him or her. And it becomes a problem when they stay in the house 3 years, 4 years without employment. Is it obligatory? Is it obligation on government, or is it the duty of government to employ such people at all cost? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Ebenezer Kofi Amponsa with the Daily Guide. Minister, thank you. I think that we need to first of all, commend the ministry for the work they've done so far. In the past, getting data from the ministry was very difficult. Trying to get information on labor was difficult. But with what we've seen, at least we can put a hand on some few information if we want to do some stories on them. So thank you. Secondly, I want to find out what the ministry is doing in terms of child labor. It seems to be on the ascendancy now. If I look around Accra, for instance, you go to Tama Station, you see a lot of people from the rural areas, wherever they are coming from. So per my assessment, it looks like it's on the ascendancy. I want you to tell us something about that, what your ministry is doing in respect to that. Then, with the information you shared with us concerning the data on the jobs, can you finish up with how many of them are temporary, how many of them are permanent? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe we can take the Honorable Minister's responses now, and then we will come back to you for the next set of questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I'm impressed with the kind of questions that have come up. It suggests that people really follow what we do and that you really understand our sector. Before we came here, I told my heads of departments that they should be ready. This is not just my press briefing, but if a question came up and it relates to your area, I will invite you to come and answer. So don't be surprised if I invite some heads of departments to come here. So, Mr. Director General of SNIT, most of the questions relates to you. So come here on the issue of ILO's review of your future prospects.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As we noted at the press conference that we gave when this ILO issue came out. The ILO report, or let's say the external actuarial valuations that are done for SNIT, are done every 3 years. It wasn't the first report. In fact, a previous report said SNIT will be out of business in 2025. We are still here. One report said that we'll be out of business in 2034. The next one is 2036. That is what the last one said, and appeared to cause a lot of alarm. Let me make these few points. SNIT has never defaulted on pension payments, and I am very confident that SNIT will be around long after I am gone. It certainly was around before I joined. If, for those of you who listened to the Public Accounts Committee, we did show a surplus in 2022. In 2023, the provisional figures indicate that the surplus that we will show will be much larger than the surplus in 2022, which we indicated at the Public Accounts Committee. And the indicative figures for 2024 are that we will still be showing a surplus. And this is driven by a combination of an improvement in our net contributions and net investment income. The ILO report, as it's delivered to us, provides us with guidance and tells us what the issues are, and we then take measures to ensure that the scheme is sustainable. Indeed, we continuously take measures to improve SNIT. And so I would leave it at that. But what I want to assure you is that the ILO report is no cause for alarm, and that we are working to improve SNIT. Thank you very much.
Don't go yet. You have another one on the divestiture.
On the divestiture, I think the key point is as follows. I think the gentleman who asked the question, if you were running a shop, would you always have the same goods in the shop? The answer is no. Likewise, we run a portfolio. At any time, we would change some of the assets we hold. So it should not be a surprise that if we look at our portfolio and there are some assets that are underperforming, we would look to correct that. That is what the sale of a stake in our hotels was about. And all we are looking to do is to improve the performance of the underlying portfolio. And that is really it.
Thank you very much. If they need be, I'll call you again. Atamensa also veered into payroll issues and the savings there. The Chief Executive of Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is also here. I will invite him to come and tell us how they were able to achieve that success.
Honorable, thank you for the opportunity. The payroll, this is not an attempt to give a speech. The payroll monitoring actually covered more than 250 institutions, but the ones that we visited is the 120. My good friend wanted to know the positives, so I'll just dwell on the positives. The payroll monitoring gave us a lot of insights as to the extent to which we have implemented the single spine pay policy. And it points out to the fact that the time has come. Just like the labor law is going to receive a review, it's time to begin to look at reviewing the single spine pay policy. All indications are pointing towards that. Of course, It has also enhanced attendance in some institutions and productivity. In some areas, when they heard that the fair wages is around, we had typical examples of people not reporting to work, but once they heard fair wages is coming, they were all trooping into the offices. Of course, it has also minimized the incidence of ghost workers, minimized the issues of a drain on public purse. You saw the figures. But the figures that my Honorable Minister reported is basically for those on the single spine who are on the IPPD. There are single spiners who are not paid through the controller structures. Of course, we also cover the SOEs. So if we actually want to quantify the savings, we'll be able to get far beyond the figures that Honorable Minister has, reported. It has also given us some insights as to how we should be able to link pay to performance and productivity. And my good friend Osafumaf mentioned some savings. Of course, once you are left as a ghost worker, you will not surface again to go and demand your pensions. And he mentioned the savings there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So, apart from making savings, he says it has enhanced productivity as well. Atamensa still wanted to know when the Labour Act is going to be implemented. We are, for now it is a bill. It's not been passed into an act yet, but we've passed it through the necessary stages at the first level. It is yet to go to cabinet, and I want to believe that in the next week or two, it will be forwarded to cabinet for cabinet's review. But the point I made earlier about introducing paternity leave is something which all our social partners subscribe to. Maybe that one may not be as long as that of maternity. We agreed at our stakeholder meeting that we start with a modest of 5 days for fathers and 14 weeks for mothers. On the issue of casualization and contract works, for contract works, yes, I don't think it is bad for anybody to be engaged in a contract work. There's nothing wrong with that. But casualization, if it goes beyond a certain limit, then it becomes a problem. It is part of the things the new Labour Bill seeks to address. We want to avoid a situation where people take advantage of people and use them for casual purposes without giving them the necessary job security and what have you. So the new act is certainly going to address that. So just hold yourself in peace, and that will be addressed. Nana Poku wanted to know more about jobs created by, since 2017, unemployment created. I'm very happy you used the two terminologies, jobs and employment. All employment can be said to be jobs, but it is not all jobs that can be said to be employment. I want Ghanaians to know the difference between the two. As a ministry that is responsible for issues of employment and labor relations, and as an active member of ILO, anytime the ministry is reporting, it reports on jobs created, which is a universal set of all forms of engagement. However, for other purposes, people choose to also talk about employment generated. When job is more sustainable, then it becomes employment. Let me just give a typical example. If I have, say, a hold to be dug for something in my house, and I needed people to assist me do that, I just go into the street and hire people to come and do that for a fee. The moment they work and are paid, they are said to be in what? Job. But you cannot say that by performing that 1 hour or 1 day work, that person is in employment. Employment is a more sustainable job. So I guess you are getting the difference. So as a labor ministry, anytime we are reporting on jobs, we report on all persons that have been engaged to do 1 or 2 other jobs within the period, within the reference period. That number, we have said it, and I want to repeat, is over 5 million persons. But then, if you are talking of those who have had a more sustained job, what we call decent jobs, for which they can rely on daily basis, they have job security and what have you, that is 2.3 million. And that one is employment. So there's no confusion between the two at all. Depending on where you are coming from, you choose to provide which data you want. I have heard His Excellency the Vice President on several occasions mentioning the figure that the MPP since 2017 has created 2.3 million jobs. He's not lying. The data supports that. But then at the same time, if you extend it beyond employment to cover jobs, then the number of jobs that have been created is over 5 million jobs. I guess you are getting the difference between the two. Thank you. And then, Nanapoku, you want to know how we are preparing for the future, especially given the fact that more and more persons are turning out of school. Yes, job creation, let me say, it's a collective responsibility of the entire economy. No one sector has the responsibility of creating jobs. In actual fact, for those of you who have had the opportunity to travel outside this country, jobs are provided mainly by the private sector. Our friends, our brothers, our sisters who live outside, I can say that about 90% of them do not work in government establishments. They work for the private sector. But I agree, the private sector also thrives when the economy is doing very well. That is why government's main preoccupation is to build a resilient economy so that the private sector will have confidence in and then will invest. As and when more and more persons are investing, then we'll have more persons also getting work to do. Let me take the media space as an example. In the past, we used to have GBC as the main state, as the main broadcasting unit in the country. When the media space was liberalized and more persons invested in that sector, we had so many people being employed within the sector. So yes, I agree, government will have to come up with programs and plans to be able to get jobs for these people. But I want to say that the best way of providing that is government committing itself to building a resilient economy by which investors will have more confidence in invest and expand the economy so that people will get jobs to do. Child labor. We have signed on as a country to so many protocols which commit us to ensuring that child rights are adhered to. One of the cankers we have in society is the issue of child labor. I don't know where you had your data suggesting that child labor is on the ascendancy. I beg to differ, even though I cannot also say that child labor has been removed. Let us make a clear distinction between child labor and child work. It is not every work that the child does that can be considered to be child labor. But when that work is hazardous to the development of the child, then it is termed as what? Child labor. In Ghana, there's a survey that we have done indicates that child labor is more prevalent within the agricultural economy, also in the fishing sector and artisanal mining sector. That is not to say that they may not be prevalent in some other places. As a nation, we have what we call National Plan of Action to Combat Child Labor, for which so many organizations have committed themselves to and are providing services which are helping to solve this. For instance, the more and more we get many Ghanaians in the classroom, Ghanaian children in the classroom, in a way we are removing them from issues of child labor. As we speak, the data available to me tells me that about 98% of Ghanaians who are supposed to be enrolled in primary school are enrolled. The number can even be more. Those who are supposed to be in junior high school, about 95% of them are there. So if some are released to be involved in work, the number then becomes a bit minimal. Perhaps one other thing that we have not succeeded in doing is to contextualize child labor within our cultural setup. I was grown up in a village. I accompanied my mom to the farm over weekends and sometimes during vacations. I used the opportunity to learn the art of farming. And now I can say that besides being a minister, I'm a farmer as well. So, would you say that training from your parents in the trade that they have been in it is purely a child labor act? This has been one area that where we have been actually contesting with the international community on a definition of child labor that will fit our cultural setting. Otherwise, we will criminalize any form of work that is being done by the child. But for me, what is more important is that the energies of the child should not be exerted on work, but rather on education. So far as the child is allowed the opportunity to study and progress in his or her educational life, for me, any other thing the child does is perhaps a way of informally also learning an activity. So the data available to us do not support the fact that child labor is on the ascendancy, even though I see street children moving up and then the numbers increasing. I think I've attempted to answer virtually all the questions which came up. So I will rest, Madam Minister. Okay, my attention. Yes. One of you indicated that pension numbers, the assets under management of SNIT had moved up from 15 billion to 71 billion. No, I never said so. What I said was that assets under management of pensions, I was not related to only SNIT. When we talk of pensions, SNIT is the mandatory tier 1 pension manager. But when you come to tier 2, there are other operators there. So what I referred to was the entire pension industry, not only that of pension. So in your report, be very careful in attributing the growth to whoever it was meant. So if you take both tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, it is the sum total which adds up to the 71 billion. I just want to make that clarification. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. So we'll take the next set of questions. If there are any hands, I can see 2 hands at the back. Okay, we'll take it as a follow-up. Okay.
Yeah, Mpache, Fremi Kofi Chairman, me Edma Kofi Go Media. Also, for where they come out there, the woman here say, Omwa, why any of my in previous Bessenga, Quan Ben Sony, I show Mama, Omanya Juma, and Omwa ya bomb get train. Quan Ben Sona buying a say great in the Juma, and Conquest that Dani Bia, and said the Ebe Monetani. And number 2, in some Amphona, Omotia Woos and some Amphone. I can't say. Abenju ba yefo ina and you Ghana car nya some nya akatua no moye na yakosi say na himfa na madru na nsamanfo no so atiase wom so no dodo say na efim medase.
Thank you, Kofi. Okay.
Right, Minister, my name is Obed. I report for GH1 TV and Star FM. Yesterday, 3 teacher unions, namely NAT, NAGRAT, and CCT, issued a press release threatening to embark on an industrial action because of some grievances. Has that come to your attention? If you may, some of these grievances include 12-month arrears of their Tier 2 deductions and delays in upgrading, difficulties in reinstating and rank reduction. And then my second question is about minimum wage. Yesterday, Public Accounts Committee cited some district assemblies of paying below the minimum wage. Has this come to your attention, and how are you going to reverse this trend? And my last question about the figures for the employment. Let's forget about the jobs. Employment. Can you help us with the fine details, sector by sector, how many number of people have been employed, so that it can help us do the validation? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Nana.
Yes. Honorable Minister, my third question was not answered. I asked whether it is the obligation or duty of government to employ people who finish college of education and medical institutions or professionals, because you see some nurses, trainees sitting home, and so we are expecting the government to call us. He has not called us, so we don't have employment. And I don't know whether it's an act of parliament that gives the authority to government to employ them, or it is because everybody thinks in this country that whenever you finish tertiary institution, necessarily government must employ you. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, please.
Good morning. My name is Clankson. I work with Asasi Radio. So my question is that the Ghana Association of University Administrators, they say they have some outstanding allowances over $1 million.
Can you take it again?
Okay, so I was saying that the Ghana Association of University Administrators, they say they have some outstanding allowances, the vehicle allowance, off-campus allowance, and all of that. So they are threatening to strike coming Friday. So I wanted to ask the minister whether he is aware of that.
Okay. Are there any hands? If not, I take that to be the last question. We'll take Honorable Minister's responses and also his concluding remarks.
Thank you very much. I didn't know we have a lot of labor journalists here. Maybe after the session, I will ask my public relations outfit to get your contacts. We need to offer some of you opportunities to do further training so that you can even up your game. We thank you for how far you have brought us anyway. We are so grateful. Kofi, why you wanted to know how we are helping the beneficiaries to keep their businesses. In the past, most of the models which were run by the YE had a 2-year cohort period. So, for instance, we needed people to support the educational system. So we invite persons who are interested to go to the rural communities to go and teach for 2 years. After 2 years, your period ends and then you come home. Then another set of persons will be recruited. We realize that if we continue to do that, we'll just be recycling the unemployed persons. So what we are now doing is that we are, even for those that are doing a 2-year term, we link up with their respective mother institutions. For instance, if it is GES that we are working with, how do they also help us? Said that by the time the 2-year ends, such persons are also admitted into the teacher colleges of education so that they can go and further their educations and then become professional teachers. But then for a more sustainable jobs, what we have now put our focus on is to make sure that we give persons skills. Skills are living jobs. Jobs that nobody can take. The ILO has done a study on the future of work. And the outcome of that study is that there are so many jobs that we see today that may not necessarily exist going into the future. In the past, in my community, for any young person coming up, the first job, which naturally you go into, was farming. Now you go, the population has so increased, the vegetation has changed, it is no more lucrative to do full-time farming for everybody. So naturally, persons who are coming from such community, unless perhaps you diversify your job opportunities, you may not be able to do meaningful work that can make you economically competitive. So ILO now recommends that to give a more sustainable job to persons, we have to deepen the issues of TVET for young persons. That is why the president, in his own wisdom, way back in 2018, directed that a TVET we should create a TVET service that will regulate the TVET sector and also give people an opportunity to have a different career path of development. And he further even made it easier by also allowing persons who are operating within that area to have a hand in the free SHS that he brought into being. So the YEA is now more focused on skill training. Like Madam said, a lot of people have been trained in APRO. There are so many things happening in Ghana, and sometimes I wonder whether we as Ghanaians even know that such good things are happening. Just around, unfortunately, I was not brought up in Accra here, so I don't know the names of the subjects too well. But when you are going to Cocoa Board, just where you have the UT Heights, opposite that place, there's a small path. If you go there are some garment factories there. If you look at the number of persons they engage, it will amaze you. Most of these persons that they engage are persons that they pick from the streets and gave them training sometimes for only 1 month, and they are using them. Thousands and thousands of persons running different shifts and what have you. We took a cue from that and decided that we will let Ghanaian young persons who are interested in garment go into that. We gave people money to train them and to also set them up. And like Madam said, over 2,000 of such persons have been deployed throughout the country, and they have not just been trained, they have also been given money to expand their businesses so that they can engage additional hands. I am of the view that such persons trained in such businesses will have a lifelong vocation. They don't need to depend on anybody for jobs. Research upon research has shown that if you train somebody in TVET, the possibility of that person employing themselves is 67%. Other than that of grammar education, where the possibility of that person employing themselves is only 5%. So you see the difference. So if you want to solve the problem of unemployment, the best way to go is to go the TVET way. Yesterday at Techiman, some 10,000 persons that have learned different types of trades were given startup packs to enable them begin their lifelong vocation. I forgot to answer this question about whether or not it is an obligation of government to engage nurses and teachers who have been trained. Yes, there is no pact which says that if one completes a particular level of education, that person ought generally to be recruited by government. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know there's any enactment that says that. But there's a social contract between government and such persons, because these persons were sponsored by government in their training. So if they come out and they are not recruited, in a way, it is like government has sponsored your education, spent money on you, and yet you are not working. There's no way government is recouping the investment it had made on you. That is why it has always been the preoccupation of government to make sure that such persons are recruited. But we do so also taking cognizance of the fact that the public space has a limit that it can absorb. So as and when vacancies are created, it is difficult to recruit such persons. That explains why sometimes there are backlogs and they had to wait for some number of years before they are engaged. But what we are seeking to do is to also explore the possibility of getting some of them exported to other countries that may need their services. But we want it to be controlled so that persons cannot take advantage of them and then be taking extorting monies from such innocent persons. We want to make sure that for any such arrangement, it will have to be a bilateral agreement between the government of Ghana and the government of that country. On the issue of minimum wage, I'm happy this question came up. In my text, I should have also mentioned that in 2017, when I assumed office as the Minister of Employment, the minimum wage was slightly around 8 cedis. But it has since moved up from 8 cedis to 18 cedis, even though I agree that it is still not the level that can make the worker comfortable. We are working towards improving it, but that is a record. When the minimum wage is determined, and I want to make this point quite clear, it will be unlawful for anybody that engages somebody to do some kind of work for him or her to pay that person below this agreed minimum wage. So if assemblies are indeed paying persons below the minimum wage, it is against the law. And such assemblies, I would direct the Chief Labor Officer to exert the necessary applications on them, because it is unlawful for you to engage and pay the person below the minimum wage. So, my brother, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. On the issue of threats to strikes. It will be unfair on my part if I say that, in spite of the fact that we have had relatively peaceful industrial relations, it does not really mean that industrial issues do not come up. On a daily basis, you have issues coming up, but perhaps what is more important is if these issues come up, how are they handled? How are they solved? Do we just sit down to allow them to degenerate, or we act on it to avoid any mishap? So for me, yes, we are aware of the issues of threats of strike by university administrators, and then we are also aware of that which was contained in the press conference issued by the 3 teacher unions. I want to assure you that we will engage with them, especially with that of the 3 teacher unions, on the issue of arrears of payment of Tier 2 contributions. We have had some kind of agreement with them on a roadmap to the settlement of these arrears. If for any reason any of the parties to the agreement is not living to their obligations, I will make sure that we work hard to get them to do the needful to avoid any possible strike action on that front. Thank you.
For now, my show, Quamben, my show with Jitter as my mom, Academy Monitana, and Concoyaqua, and in some amphona, and say Ghana card by you move to do saying, and I'm praying, and Pemposwako could do saying.
Medicare for the Udi Chato, and some amphono, so what ye Minia Benata, or more Ghana card, no, any payroll monitoring system, no. You put in place no. Ama and some no bebre say omuntimi pia bontini bio. Baby obufredo omaka no de di kan ke say eno nko ano enam saade no ho aban sika no se no wakatua ho nko ano yatimi ate so by is it 550 345 million Ghana cedis. Enti empire ye bone say omobeka omamram omumba. But mabisa sa question will be that ebrebia sa asem we yetaika say ghost names. Ghost names no say wa ma wani anko ho a wo watimi ayi we ye free home no ochna so betimi ayeden ashase. So exercise ebeye continuous so that as and when someone be a peja ni tibia no na yakano ashe enye payroll no munko pensions so ka ho because obi oho a woko pension ebi kura wawu but enye known to SNET na brebia omugu so eyeden etua ntia no so no say omo ampe kwan bi so ahunu a obehwe na no so create problem. And now coming back to why ye the na em say me chire mo chire wo say say the why ye ade a wo ye pa ne say o mawo nsanudwuma na wa mawo nsanudwuma na kade a eka ho a ebeboa wo ama wo atimi ayeden aye adwuma ntinura say obi ye carpenter wa quantity mu a yama no carpentry tools obi ye auto mechanical yama no tools obi ye electrician yama no tools obi ye hairdresser yama no hairdressing tools enti niema kade ye wo so ye de ma omo ni nyina no ye de ama omo but ade ba ko a eye innovation a ebi ensi e wo Ghana hada ene say sa nipa ya wa yi ama omo training ni nyina no omo asan e de omo edini ni omo numbers akọ artisan app be a omo akreti so. Enti se me fa ne say me driver ni me kwa na madru nsawam na me ka say a enya afi na me kwa akwohwehwe apɛ fitani ɛwɔ nsawam na fitani no kura me kwa akɔpɛ no no ɛdeɛ na kyerɛ sɛ wɔyɛ fitani papa. Enti se me call app no so a metimi akese oh I want a mechanic near me at nsawam. Obehu so omo a wayefo a training omo no omo diri be popo app. Then I invite one of them to come and work on my car. All but no me wogidie say and nam say ya tete no ama no certificate nti adwuma a wo ba be no so be den e be adwuma papa. And this is the way we want to. So we oba na bia wo kwa sorry why you late. Nemo mutri enye. Enyafe na obeko saloon. Oko app no so a I want send you can home service for a and to oko ya obehu say beautician na ya tete no no the one near you ne details beba no afre no abafie no ababe dey no abeye adwuma no ama no bibi kakra. Enti ye feel say it is not just about training them but also giving them the market within which to operate. Thank you. Tiabusiafo, I want to seize this opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister for her reception and conducting this press briefing so well. I also want to thank our two chief directors for taking time to come and support us. My able deputy and my technical assistant for also supporting me, and all my heads of department. I am happy you all were able to make it. And for those of you who even had an opportunity to come and answer questions, I want to say thank you very much. I want to thank everybody, the press, you've been wonderful, and I will keep to my word. I'll make sure that some of you are trained more in labor relations. We want to have press that have expertise in labor relations so that when labor issues come and they are reporting, they will be able to report it accurately to the public. I am so grateful to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, distinguished invited guests, our Chief Director and Directors of Ministry of Information, for making time for today's presser. I would also like to use the opportunity to thank our media partner, GBC. GTV has been picking this press briefing live from beginning to end. And to our social media teams who are streaming the briefing on Facebook, at Ministry of Information, at Think Online, and also Kofigo Media, all streaming live on social media. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you again. Minister, this has been so interesting. We love labor issues. I thought it was going to be maybe a slow, boring conversation, but you realize that really we don't get such opportunities often. So this should be a see you again. Anytime you want to come back, our doors are open. We will create a platform for you to engage the public. Thank you and God bless you all.